I grew up as the fourth of 6 kids. I came into this world as a procrastinator, so I missed my due date, causing me to weigh in at 11 pounds 6 ounces. My childhood was a good one. We were what you'd call free-range kids, outside from the morning till dinner, only coming home when it was time to eat. We played hard, explored everywhere like the creek behind my house. We moved 6 times growing up, Missouri to Kansas, then Indiana to Maryland, and a couple places in between. The constant moving taught me to adapt, but it was hard for me to make deep connections. Structure and discipline were the norm for my military family. My grandfather was an Army colonel who served in the World War II in Korea. My dad was a West Point grad, and he was strict. That environment must have impacted us because 3 of my brothers joined the Army, and my only sister married an Army Ranger. The military was kind of like a family business, so naturally, I grew up liking basketball, breakdancing, and the Beastie Boys. The military life wasn't going to be for me. Christianity was always around me. It felt safe. I was baptized at 8 because that seemed like the age to do that. I went to Lutheran schools and attended the local Baptist church multiple times a week. I was the kid who always knew the right answers from Sunday school, but knowing the answers isn't the same as having a faith of your own. For me, faith didn't really become mine until college. I started off at Drexel in Philadelphia. There was no one ensuring I went to church, but I found my way to the college ministry next door at the University of Penn. I had to transfer back home to Towson University and had plans to become a sportscaster or a filmmaker. To pay for college, I broke a promise to myself and joined the Army Reserve, basically on a whim with a friend. I guess I was joining the family business after all, even though it was supposed to be only part-time. I was at my initial Army training at Fort Lee when 9/11 happened. That moment, I knew reserve commitment was not going to be the only 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year they promised. After my Army training, I got back to Towson and started attending some of the college ministries there. I quickly met Nikki, and that changed the trajectory of my life. No longer was I planning to move to New York City to pursue filmmaking, but we were talking about starting a family here. On a Monday in 2003, I got a call that I was being deployed to the Middle East, and I had to report to the new unit by Thursday. Nikki and I got married on a Tuesday night, which happened to be my birthday. There was no planning, no big production, but somehow 150 people showed up. Friends decorated the church, someone baked a wedding cake, Nikki wore her friend's wedding dress, and I wore my brother's tux. We even had a limo and a hotel room donated. From the pictures, it looked like we had planned the wedding for about a year, but it was really just God pouring out his blessings through the people around us. We felt incredibly loved, and it was a miracle the way it all unfolded. It was a scary time in the early part of the Iraqi war, but God kept me safe and away from direct combat. That deployment brought 2 incredible friends into my life, guys who helped me grow my faith. We studied and prayed together, asked hard questions. They are still 2 of my best friends to this day. It was a mountaintop experience for me spiritually, even though it was one of the most difficult environments physically. We found Horizon in 2005 after I got back. At the time, we were newly married and about to have our first kid. I finished college, started working at Comcast, and we had 3 kids by the end of 2010. Horizon was the foundation for us, and we were plugged into the link groups as much as we could with young babies. One of the biggest shifts in our life came in 2013 when we decided to become a foster family. Our kids were still young, we wanted to serve our community. God had put adoption on our hearts even before Nikki and I had met. We felt God's calling to live out faith through foster care. Foster care has been one of the most beautiful and most difficult things we've ever done. We've had dozens of placements over the years. Thankfully, the 3 kids who stayed with us the longest, we were able to adopt. I know this is not typical for most foster families. Having to say hard goodbyes was supposed to be part of it. I thought our journey would be easier, since our hearts were not broken. I used to believe nurture would win over nature every time, but I don't believe that anymore. These kids who look healthy and happy on the outside carry deep wounds of brokenness. And the ways the wounds show up, it's not easy. It's not always pretty. It's incredibly isolating, since most people can't relate. Still, we felt optimistic that God was with us on the journey. It was painful in the waiting, but we felt God working in the waiting for adoption, which took 3.5 years for each kid. I used to think adoption was the finish line, and all the problems with foster care would end then. It's not. It's the beginning of a lifelong journey. Some days I wanted to quit. I was mad at God. We were trying to walk out his plan, and it felt like it just kept on getting harder. I'm grateful for the life I have. I love my family, but it's not what I expected when we signed up. I thought having loving parents would be enough to fix all their problems, but I've learned that God never promised that. Still, I would do it all over again to get my sons and daughter, even knowing I'd be changing diapers for over 18 years. In 2015 and 2016, I had another major shift in my faith. I started questioning a lot of what I believed. I had always been in one kind of faith tradition. but now I was being exposed to others. Charismatic and Pentecostal styles that were so different. Some parts helped me grow, while others led to more confusion. I saw how deeply politics and religion were intertwined. It was disorienting. I was watching people who called themselves Christians act in ways that didn't reflect Christ at all. I saw popular faith leaders fall from grace. It made me take a step back. I started deconstructing what I believed, not to walk away, but to re-examine what I was taught. I had to accept that I wasn't going to have all the right answers, that Christ would not have a political party, that there would be gray areas, that faith could be messy. God never promised life would be easy. I learned if you pick and choose what you read in the Bible, you don't see the messiness of the leaders of faith. David, and Noah, and Peter, and so many others. You can't skip over the hard parts that make us uncomfortable, even if it doesn't make sense. During that same period, I was constantly traveling for work, monthly trips overseas, and in 2018, I was deployed again for 7 months to Kuwait and Iraq. This was incredibly hard on Nikki and the kids. I was wrestling with my beliefs, but God was still showing up through the chaplains and other airmen during the deployment. When I got back, I still traveled a lot, and COVID hit. I had a boss who was both the best and the worst because he was battling bipolar issues. And I was working under him during one of the most intense times for the National Guard. We were setting up COVID test sites, distributing PPE and food, and then doing the same the following year with vaccinations. It was overwhelming and exhausting. Everyone else was locking down, and we were going full speed. I had little time for God and faith, probably when I needed it the most. Our family grew and we moved because a 3-bedroom townhouse was no longer working with everyone home. Life was challenging, but God was still pursuing me. I found hope in Christian artists who sang about wrestling with their faith when it was too hard to pray myself. I found foster dads who could relate and validate how I felt. They fully understood the challenges, so it was easy to be open and honest. I'm proud that Horizon has been a part of bringing those foster and adopted dads together. It makes a difference. Jesus is still at work in our family, every day, and we've held on to that. We're a little more weathered, a little more weary, but God is still good. In the good times He's good, in the hard times He's good. There's a verse that's become an anchor for me. It's James 1:2-4. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, lacking nothing. For me, I didn't fully realize what He was doing in my life until I could look back and see how every step was part of His plan. God strengthened our marriage through the hard times, and we've been married for almost 22 years. I'm so thankful to God for how much our kids have grown and adapted, how they're pursuing their faith on their own, and how it's changing their lives. God is good, and I don't expect life to be perfect, but I know I don't want to do it without Him. I hope some of my story will be an encouragement. Just know that God will always pursue you, even when you're not ready to pursue Him back. I don't know where you are in your journey, maybe someplace painful, or maybe you're like me, still trying to figure it out day by day. But I hope you know this, God isn't waiting for you to have it all together. He's already at work, even when it doesn't make sense, even in the waiting, the mess, the doubt, because God is good.